Hi everyone, this is Trish Lesage, and I wanted to share a story with you about something that really did happen to me. It's a true story, and it's a story about how I actually saw Jesus. And I'm not a religious person at all. I'm not a religious fanatic, and I don't even go to church, but I did see him. And what happened was I live in Michigan, and Michigan is usually a cold state in the winter, and we often have ice and snow, and the temperature often plummets far below 0 Fahrenheit. And I go behind the woods every evening behind my home, and I help out the wildlife, especially in the winter months when there's hardly nothing to eat here. And it was a cold January winter night, and I went behind my home to the woods, and I was helping out the ducks, and I noticed that there was a river otter nearby, and the river otter was about to attack one of the ducks. And the ducks and the other animals, they're like pets to me. They're like having a cat or a dog because they know me, they know my voice, they come right up to me. I can walk right up to them and they're not afraid of me. And they're like my babies, they're like my pets. And so I was afraid for the safety of, one of my animals, basically one of my ducks. And so I thought I need to help him. And there was ice on the river, and I knew it wasn't thick enough to support my body. I knew that I couldn't walk out there because I would fall through. So I decided to slide on my stomach across the ice so that I could reach him. But unfortunately, the ice was not thick enough to sustain my body, even when I laid down and spread the weight of my body across my entire body laying down. And I plummeted into the icy water. But luckily, even though the river had frozen over, the water didn't feel that cold to me for some reason. But the current was very strong, and I was surrounded by sheets of ice. And I know how to swim, but since the current was strong, it was pulling on me, and I was afraid that it was going to suck me underneath one of the sheets of ice, and I would get trapped under there and drown. Because I've seen several stories on the news in which, in the winter, people and even animals like dogs in Michigan have fallen through the ice and have actually gotten trapped underneath the ice and have drowned or have needed to be rescued. And I didn't want that to happen. And while all this was going on, the river otter was still getting ready to attack the duck. And I usually, when I'm in predicaments in which I can't help myself, I call divine beings to help. And one of the divine beings that I call on often is Jesus, of course. And during that particular period of time, unfortunately, for some reason, every time I called on him and the divine beings, there was some sort of interference going on in the spirit world, and my requests for help were going unanswered or flat out being interfered with, when in the past I had actually gotten help. And I was desperate because I thought I was actually going to be sucked under the ice and drown. And I was afraid for the duck also, thinking he was going to die, although I knew that the river otter needed to survive too. So, because there was so much interference going on during that time period, and I wasn't able to communicate and get help that I needed from Jesus and the other divine beings, I decided to project my request for help into the future to Jesus rather than in the present moment. And he did answer my request for help, even though I was asking for him out there in the future to help me back in my present moment. I did see him standing on the river. And what I saw was he was much larger than you and I. He wasn't the size of an average ordinary human. He was probably 10 feet tall or more. And I heard him when I requested him to help save the duck and to help save me. He told me inside of my mind that he was reluctant to help the duck. He wanted to, but he's reluctant because then the river otter would go hungry on a cold January night when he needed so badly to eat to sustain himself and to keep warm. But Jesus eventually did help the duck and saved him from being eaten by the river otter and saved me and helped me so that I could get safely out of the water and not be sucked under the sheets of ice by the current. And then what ended up happening was a couple of days later, I found the duck tangled up underneath a sheet of ice. He was tangled up by the roots of some trees that were exposed along the riverbank and the shore due to so much erosion having taken place due to flooding. And unfortunately, he was already dead. So I had a heck of a time. I fished him out of the water and got him untangled, and I put him up on the shore. And the river otter eventually came along and ate him and didn't go hungry. It was a sad story, of course, because the duck passed away. It was happy for the river otter because he was able to eat during the wintertime and sustain himself and keep warm. But what I've learned through taking care of the animals is there are many things that I actually learned from this experience. And one of them was that I learned that through this experience and taking care of animals for so many years, that a lot of times when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. And if our life gets extended, even for a few days or so, if it's our time to go, we often go in a similar way or another way shortly thereafter. And I realized and I learned from this experience and from all of the other experiences that I've had countless times of losing so many animals while taking care of them, that when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. And when we finish what we came here on the earth to do, it is our time to go. We have things to achieve here while we're on the earth, people and animals alike. We have things to accomplish and to achieve and to learn. And once our learning is done, once we achieve what it is we were sent here to achieve and learn, it's our time to leave. And it's actually, even though it's sad, it's actually a time to celebrate because we were successful at learning what it is that we need to learn while we're on the earth. And another thing that I learned was we can actually communicate with divine beings such as Jesus and the others into the future and actually get help in our present moment. And I learned that even though Jesus, his soul, probably was not there living way out there millions of years in the future where I projected my request for help to, because I projected my request for him to help me millions of years into the future, even though his soul wasn't currently living out there probably million years, millions of years in the future, he was living during the present time that I was living in. I learned that I was actually communicating with what I call his holographic future self, or a hologram of his future self. And I have done this in the past as well. I have projected my requests for help to Jesus and other divine beings into the past. And in those cases, I have communicated not with their actual souls in the past because they are living in my present moment. I have projected my requests for help into the past and have actually communicated with the past version of their soul. When they lived through that past moment, they would have received my request for help way out there in their future, they were receiving a request for my help from a future holographic version of my soul. Because, of course, I wasn't alive living my life 2,000 years ago, communicating with Jesus. So, therefore, when I communicate with Jesus and the divine beings in the past, they would have experienced it during their time period as a holographic version of myself way out there 2,000 years into the future. And when I live my life and get up to that moment, that present moment in which I ask for their help, I'm projecting it back into the past. I'm projecting my request for help from them back into the past. And the same thing happened to me on that cold January night when I asked for Jesus to help the duck. I asked for his help, projecting my request for help millions of years into the future. And so what happened was I was in my present moment and I saw Jesus as he is going to be millions of years into the future. I was actually communicating with what I call his holographic soul, or the holographic version of his future self, millions of years into the future. And so someday, millions of years into the future, he will probably experience that moment of having communicated with me millions of years into the past, which is what my present moment is right now to him. And so I wanted to share that with all of you because when we are on the path of ascension, and we go along the path far enough, some of these types of experiences may tend to occur because we are opening up to knowledge and wisdom and things that we never realized before. And we start to learn about the mysteries of life. We start to learn about the nature of reality. We start to learn about all sorts of different phenomena. And it's very fascinating. And I don't know if I'll ever write another book again. And so, therefore, I am sharing these experiences with all of you in the form of the articles that I write and in the form of the videos that I record, because I think sharing these experiences and helping to expand the knowledge of all of you is very interesting and helps everyone and helps humanity in expanding their knowledge and along the path of ascension. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a true story. It really did happen to me. And I just wanted to help you guys along on your path of ascension and with your knowledge and expanding your knowledge and your wisdom. And therefore, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you guys next time if I create another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.